She's done it again, folks, as the revoltingly awful tour for With Love Meghan continues. We now have the spectacle of Meghan Markle lying to a compliant Drew Barrymore. Royal YouTube sensation, according to Taz, is with me. And Tasha, we're going to get through this together. Let's kick off with Meghan Markle's bedtime story falsehood.
I always make it a point when I'm traveling if I can't do bedtime stories with my kids, because Archie and Lily are just 3 and 5. So I'll always pack a really thin book and I'll videotape myself reading it. So whoever's with them, or Papa can say, here's Mama reading your bedtime story. You find ways to show up for each other. And if that's the one thing that I can convey through the show or through As Ever as a brand, I want people to know you can show up for each other because you know how good it feels when someone shows up for you.
Tasha, she's the most hands-off mother in Montecito. What did you make of it?
Well, just by talking about your children, it's good to tell other parents, it's good to show up for your children, your 3 and your 5-year-old. You're thinking, who talks that way about her kids? And I don't know if it was a bit of a slip up there when she says, when whoever's looking after the children, oh, Papa, I meant Papa. And you're like, how many people do you leave your children with, you know? It's pretty obvious they leave them with nannies, but it was the way, oh, well, whoever's with the kids that particular time that I'm away, that doesn't to me sound like a mum that is showing up for her children on a regular basis.
No, indeed. Look, these are kids that have pretty much been raised by nannies. Absolutely. That's just a fact. And she was caught out again. And it was over the fact, Tash, she's like, oh, the kids have an English accent and say lots of English words. Oh, but I can only think of one.
All right, folks, she's done it again. Meghan Markle just went on Drew Barrymore's show, and within minutes she was caught lying about her kids, about Harry, and about her so-called perfect family life. And honestly, this might be one of her most ridiculous interviews yet. From claiming she reads bedtime stories to her kids every night, while admitting she's not always there, to insisting her American-born children somehow have British accents. I mean, who believes this stuff? So, Meghan tells Drew Barrymore that she always makes time for bedtime stories with her kids. Sounds sweet, right? Well, not so fast, because in the same breath she admits she's often traveling and has to record the stories instead. Now, don't get me wrong, plenty of parents travel for work. But here's the thing. Meghan has spent years selling herself as the ultimate hands-on mom. Yet she literally says, whoever is with them, Papa or someone else, plays them my video. Excuse me, whoever. Who exactly is whoever, Meghan? Because that sure doesn't sound like a devoted, present mother to me.
That's all she's got, zebra. Wow, yeah. Well, it's not surprising, is it? I mean, well, the children, they're only going to pick up that accent off of Harry. And then you think to yourself, well, they shouldn't have any sort of accent at all being brought up in America. I mean, Lily was born there. The nannies, I'd imagine, are American as well. And it's just, she just says the strangest things, and it adds fuel to the fire of how much time does she actually spend with these kids?
Indeed. Then we got the surprise and delight moment. Do you buy that one?
The audience's faces at the end, Dan. I mean, I think that's just what everybody was thinking in the audience. Normally that's a moment where everybody collectively goes, oh, isn't that sweet? They were like, yeah, she's not known for telling the truth, is she? And yes, the card is sweet, but I've looked at that card and it's been written out by an adult, and the 3 children were allowed to put their signatures at the bottom of it, and obviously including Harry. It was, yeah, I can't help but feel that she probably sat there in her hotel room and did it anyway, just to make sure that it was aesthetically pleasing. You can't have any sort of shoddy handwriting.
And is it really a sweet moment with your hapless 2 invisible children, Tash, if actually all you intend to do is use that card to plug your Netflix series? I'm not so sure.
It's everything to do with the children, considering how quiet she's been about the children since, well, since in the beginning. We were only allowed to see them when we saw Archie on Oprah, but that's because she was trying to push the family narrative, show the baby, everyone would feel extra sorry for them. And then similar with Netflix. And then they have been keeping their children away. And now, since she's gone back onto social media and she's been promoting With Love Meghan, it's like someone said to her, look, for good PR, you've actually got to start showing the kids and wheeling out the kids. It would be great to get traffic for people to come watch the show. And as I'm 5 episodes in, Dan, and the children do not feature, but I feel like she's almost falsely led some of her fan base to believe that the children were going to be in it by using them so much in the build up to it.
Indeed. Now, what was funny about this Drew Barrymore episode is it's very clear that there is a real push for Meghan Sussex to become a thing. Now, before I show you this moment, I want to take you through a theory from our friend at the Royal News Network, Brittany, who posted, Meghan's pushing hard to be called Meghan Sussex. If Catherine is still called Kate Middleton, Meghan has and will always be Meghan Markle. But here's the key point, Tash. Also, does it feel like she's preparing for divorce with going by Meghan Sussex, as if she knows she won't be a duchess forever? Whoa, got it in one. But here's the moment when Drew Barrymore sticks to the script. But I think Brittany's onto something here, Tasha, absolutely, given that we know that the marriage is in trouble. We know that Meghan Markle has been pitching her post-divorce book, and she doesn't want to be a Markle for that divorce. So what this now means is that following any type of separation, she could go by the name Meghan Sussex and forever be connected in some way to the British royal family. I think this is a ploy.
And let's not forget, Meghan and Harry have an entire team of nannies and staff. This isn't some relatable working mom situation. This is a woman who leaves her kids in the care of who knows who while she's off chasing media deals. So why does she keep pretending otherwise? And here's the real question. How often are these kids actually with their parents? Because judging by Meghan's own words, it sounds like they spend a lot of time with the staff. And that brings us to her next bizarre claim.
Yeah, she's definitely up to something, isn't she? And with all of these other stories, like you said, with the rumours of her shopping around for a divorce book, these are people that actually worked for her. It wasn't speculation. This was actually people that said to the magazine outlets, yes, she has been doing this behind the scenes. This sudden push it's quite surprising, but I think there might be some truth to that, really, because she wants the connection. And the dukedom, obviously, it's not a family name. The children's name are Mountbatten Windsor, as far as I'm aware, the same as Harry. But Mountbatten Windsor isn't going to be as, I suppose, as marketable as keeping herself linked to the royals. And for her, she associates her titles with it. And it's the Dukedom of Sussex. I think she would keep it in the divorce if it got hashed out, but if he remarries, I think she would then lose the title. But yeah, it is rather funny that she's suddenly, I'm Meghan Sussex now. And it's like, it's not a family name, it's your husband's dukedom. You're either Markle or Mountbatten Windsor. But yeah.
And also, you didn't tell your so-called friends. Because poor Mindy Kaling, who you humiliated. Actually, we've got to take another look at this, actually, Tash, because it is worth just reminding of the absolute horror. But the thing is, she didn't tell Mindy Kaling. Mindy Kaling isn't stupid. If Mindy Kaling had got the memo from Meghan that you've now got to call her Meghan Sussex, she would be well aware of it. And it was really interesting to me that they still left it in the edit. Mindy Kaling quite clearly calling Meghan out, saying, okay, well, I know now, as in, you didn't tell me before you've humiliated me for your TV show. Watch this. I mean, I hope Mindy Kaling has woken up to the fact that she should never allow herself to be used as cannon fodder by Meghan Markle again.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I saw it circulating on social media, but it wasn't until I sat down and watched the show myself this time. I've seen it myself this morning, and I was like, wow, she was feisty with that. It was rude the way that she spoke to Mindy, and you can see that Mindy's face, she was taken aback by it. And it was almost like the quick bit where Meghan then starts talking about, oh, well, it's the children, the family name we share. It's like she went, oh, showed a bit too much of my true nature there. I better backpedal this quickly. But yeah, the fact that Mindy said, well, I know now, don't I? And you're thinking, well, yes, you do. Everybody now knows. But it's funny because this is only a new push. This is only something that I have just seen on an episode of the Netflix show, and now with Drew Barrymore. So this has come out of somewhere, which makes me think she's up to something.
But finally, there's a bit of backlash against Meghan, finally, because you know she's always so quick to call others racist. Look at this from one of the Indian newspapers. Meghan Markle called a racist bully for mocking Indian origin Mindy Karlin's access. I mean, poor Mindy Karlin, honestly, she got it in the neck given that she's actually not one of Meghan's real friends. They only met on Archetypes and then became pen pals. But in case you missed it, this was the moment that has led to the racism accusations against Meghan.
Now this is where things get really weird. Meghan actually tells Drew Barrymore that her kids, who have been raised in America surrounded by American nannies, teachers, and media, somehow have British accents. What? She even gives an example, saying they say zebra, not zebra. Okay, Meghan, let's break this down. First off, one word does not make a British accent. And second, who exactly are they picking this up from? Because if they're around Meghan all the time, why would they have British accents? And this raises another question. How much time are these kids even spending with Prince Harry? Because if they're supposedly picking up British accents from their dad, then surely they'd have more than one British word, right? But Meghan couldn't even think of another example. That's suspicious.
Now, did you think there was a degree of racism here?
I don't think that Meghan helped herself by laughing into the fridge afterwards. That to me was like, that was quite still catty, I think. I mean, I can understand, because sometimes, you know, the younger generation, they have their catchy words and you think, okay, maybe she was saying Luke. But the fact that she corrected her and said, oh, what did I say it wrong? And Meghan's like, into the fridge. I was like, that's not a good look. You just quickly say, oh, no, I thought you were mucking around or, you know. But yeah, there wasn't, I can understand why people think that. And it's the fact, as I said, Meghan was then laughing about it. Like, oh, yeah, well, you did say it wrong, but ha. Yeah, I can see why people are upset about that and they picked up on it.
Yeah, and the thing is, right, I agree. I think it was probably more bitchy, nasty, catty than racist. But the problem is, if you are the girl who cried wolf and you're the person who's accusing everyone else of racism, including our late Queen Elizabeth II and late Prince Philip, then maybe you've got to take a piece of your own medicine. And if the people in India are angry about this, well, then under Meghan's rules, she's racist.
Well, she's certainly, I mean, she's upset the Australians, she's upset South Africans, I mean, she's upset the British people. She's gradually, I think, circulating every country she goes to or she speaks about, or she just, the more that Meghan Markle speaks, she seems to offend more people as she goes. That's definitely something that she's certainly picking up a track record now of upsetting actual countries.
The reviews are in, Tash, and I am going to say that With Love Meghan is the biggest Netflix critical flop ever. Kayla Adams has actually put them all together very nicely on X. The Independent, queasy and exhausting, 1 star. The Guardian, toe-curlingly unlovable TV, 1 star. The Daily Telegraph, an exercise in narcissism, 2 stars. Variety, an ego trip not worth taking. And Time, entertaining that couldn't be more boring. And the thing about Time in particular is that that's a really important publication for Meghan. She wants to be at their parties. She wants to be on their lists. And they have turned, as has, by the way, Jack Royston of Newsweek, who posted on X, Meghan Markle's crushing Rotten Tomatoes rating revealed, With Love has actually done worse on the Rotten Tomatoes critic score than the Harry and Meghan biopic. American reviewers are also not pulling their punches. So this is not like a right-wing media thing, Tash. This is not a YouTube thing. This is all of the people who used to show up for Meghan, who used to buy into her bullshit, saying this is the worst TV show ever, which I branded it immediately on Tuesday, by the way, because it is in every way.
Let's be honest. This is just Meghan trying to remind the world that she has royal children. It's all about keeping that Duchess fantasy alive. But the reality? She's barely around, Harry's barely around, and these kids are probably being raised by their nannies. And here's what's really interesting. Prince Harry was barely mentioned in this entire interview. Drew Barrymore asked about the kids, about family, about parenting, and yet Harry's role was almost non-existent. What does that tell you? If Meghan and Harry were this inseparable, perfect power couple, wouldn't she be talking about how involved he is as a father? But no, instead she talks about whoever is with the kids at the time.
Yeah, this show it's something else. It's diabolical in places. As I said, I'm binge watching it now. I'm on episode 5, and I think just for fun, I'd take a melon baller to my eyes at this point for entertainment. It's painful. It really is painful. And Meghan's not going to be able to get away with what she always does. It's misogyny, it's racism, it's the palace at work, it's a calculated smear campaign, it's royal fans that don't like it. And you're like, well, now it's people that are even Republicans that call her out. It's people that have never had interest in the royal family, didn't care about the saga, didn't care about her marrying into it, and they didn't care about Oprah. You have got a lot of an American audience that just don't care. But there are a lot of those people now saying get this woman off the TV. Just please stop giving her deals. Sick of seeing her face. I'm sick of hearing her voice. This show it's grating and it's boring at the same time. I really thought that there would be something to draw people in. Even people that wanted desperately to hate watch are tuning off. They can't make it through the full 8 episodes.
Oh, no
and
way.
From what I've seen, I don't blame them.
No way. It is interesting, though, because it's not a flop in the way that Polo was, but Royal News Network has done a bit of work on this. So let me take you through this, Tash. Brittany says, Meghan must be bummed her show isn't number 1 or even in the top 5, just in the top 10 and soon to drop out entirely. It's also fairly telling that her follower number haven't surged post the show, still saying it just 2.2 million followers. That's on Instagram. Pretty good indicator that the response is tepid at best. If this was a smash hit and people wanted more, her socials would probably be going crazy. This failed to land and probably damaged her reputation even more. And she went on to say, I believe we can probably label With Love Meghan a flop, given its rather dismal performance, debuting at just a measly number 6 on the top 10 offerings for Netflix. That's in America. The streaming company isn't paying Harry and Meghan upwards of $100 million for shows to debut at number 6. And this doesn't have the tabloid interest to drive additional views. I imagine it will drop out of the top 10 tomorrow. The show was beautifully shot, but objectively bad with a terrible host. It's not even good enough to hate watch, but instead something that could be used to torture prisoners of war. I would guess the internal metrics at Netflix will show that most viewers dropped out within the first episode or 2. Perhaps now Netflix will finally give up the pretense that Harry and Meghan were even remotely worth the obscene price tag they paid. Meghan can hustle, but she doesn't have a smidge of star power or likability. Better for Netflix to cut their losses and move on from the embarrassment of being played by the grifters. However, it did just sneak in to the US top 5. This is the latest chart. But, and there's a really big but here, this is a case of curiosity killed the cat. And the watch time on this show, which is the metric that Netflix really cares about, is going to be so low, Tash. Because people are, I mean, the fact they used Daniel Martin in the first episode was a dire decision because it brings out the absolute worst in Meghan, I think, having her gay BFF on the payroll sycophant fawning over her. I don't even think people are going to go to episode 2 where you actually get an actual celebrity in Mindy Kaling.
And this is the pattern we keep seeing. Meghan is slowly making herself the star of the Sussex brand, while Harry fades into the background. She's making more and more solo media appearances, controlling the narrative and pushing her projects. Meanwhile, Harry's just there. So I have to ask, is Meghan deliberately leaving Harry out of the conversation? Is this her way of setting up the next phase of her brand? Because let's be real, if a breakup announcement ever comes, this interview will look very telling. And let's talk about how the public is reacting, because trust me, people are not buying Meghan's nonsense anymore. Social media is calling her out for her contradictions. People are literally saying, if she's always traveling, how is she also always reading bedtime stories? Others are pointing out that the British accent claim makes zero sense. And even longtime supporters are starting to question her. Why? Because Meghan can't keep her own story straight. The more she talks, the more she exposes herself.
Yeah, Daniel was an interesting choice. You think you would have used someone, one of the big, she didn't really have many big name people on there, but you think you would have gone for someone that draws the audience in. And the fact, even the whole BFF thing, she's like, I know his favorite snack is peanut butter, but I'm going to write on the label peanut butter in case he's allergic to nuts. Some people are. And then she's like patching up his hand, and she didn't realize he was a lefty. And then she was shocked that she didn't know that he lived in a small apartment in New York. Doesn't sound like someone that's a really good friend who's never been to your apartment and doesn't know little details about you. Oh, he could eat peanut butter, but he could also die. Maybe I should put in an EpiPen into the guest room as well.
Tash, you are so right. And let me tell you why. Because these gay makeup artists, I know a lot of these guys, right? They are so lovely. But when they are working for one of the big celebrities, they don't talk about themselves. They are there to listen to their queen. He listens to Meghan moaning 24/7. She don't give a damn about him. She just cares that he is there. And it was hilarious, wasn't it, when he went outside and looked at the view at the house that isn't actually Meghan's house and said, oh, it just all looks so fake. Because I thought, what you're doing is talking about your friendship. It is the fakest friendship there's ever been. You cannot have a friendship with a guy who is on the payroll.
No, and it didn't just stop with Daniel either. There was one with Delphina that made me laugh earlier, where she said Meghan was saying to the camera, I've just learnt to make focaccia. And Delphina comes in and she says, oh, yes, I've been dying for you to make this for me for years, like it was a family recipe that Mama used to make, And it's like there's so many slip-ups in this to show that Meghan doesn't know these people properly, like proper friends. Abigail Spencer, I believe, is she's the longest running friend, where they knew each other on Suits. And even the way that they talked to each other there were moments and you're like, don't you know this sort of stuff? And then they could just be playing up for the camera. But I found those three women together. I've just watched this episode and it was like the Witches of Eastwick. And
Yes.
it was just where they're all stirring their mimosas. And I'm just thinking this can't get any worse at this point, surely.
Yeah, well, indeed. I when I saw these women together, Tash, I was like, I don't want to be part of this group. And I don't know if anyone is watching the latest series of White Lotus with the three girlfriends who actually secretly despise each other. I'm like, this is it. You hate each other. You're not there for each other at all. But I did have to talk, Tash, about the drinking.
And let's be real, this isn't just about bedtime stories or accents. This is about Meghan's entire pattern of lying to craft a perfect image. Whether it's the Oprah interview, the Spotify podcast, or this Drew Barrymore appearance, it's always the same: half-truths, exaggerations, and contradictions. So the big question is, how much longer can she keep this act up? Because if even her own supporters are getting skeptical, her media empire might be in big trouble.
Now, Tash, I like a drink. I like a drink, so I'm not one to judge, but I don't have many drinks at work. And there is a growing suggestion, actually, that Meghan is a bit, how do we put it, Tash? A bit...
Wine heavy?
Yes, wine heavy.
Yes, from what I'm seeing, I mean, she's doing drinks all the time, and then the way she's casually talking about having drinks at a child's birthday party, and I'm thinking, I've been to a few children's birthday parties, and it's not the sort of place generally you see parents drinking because they're trying to keep an eye on about 20 different kids running around. And it's just absolute chaos. But there is a running theme with this. I don't know if it's going to build up, but Meghan, I have heard rumours she's now going to potentially start selling some of her own alcohol. But she is giving that whole rich mummy, designer clothes, get drunk by the pool during the day, let the nannies look after the kids. She's not doing that sort of reputation she's built up any favours. She's definitely fueling it. But between the alcohol, the dead flowers that get sprinkled on absolutely everything, and if I hear the word crudité again, I think I'm going to slap the next person. It's all been about crudités and boards. Did you know that you can chop up vegetables and put them on boards, Dan? Revolutionary, honestly.
Oh my God, I know. And she hasn't even chopped them up herself. Also, I'm sorry, like, raw vegetables are miserable. Come on. I just, but absolutely, she was obsessed with two things, crudités and putting dead flowers on bloody everything. And I hate flowers on food. I hate edible flowers. It's like, no wonder me and Meghan clash in so many ways, because I'm like, if you're an edible flower girl, you're not a me girl at all. Can we talk about her outfits, though, Tash? Because Cami Soto made a really good point. 2022 on Netflix, Meghan said, most of the time I was in the UK, I rarely wore colour. To my understanding, you can't ever wear the same colour as Her Majesty or as one of the other more senior members of the royal family. To respect it, she begrudgingly only wore neutrals. 2025 on Netflix, did we have any colour whatsoever? No. Meghan always wanted to wear neutral colours. It was just yet another lie about the British royal family, right?
Oh, absolutely. We've seen this over the past year, when probably the last couple of years since she's left, she wears an awful lot of beige, light brown, camel. It's all the same, the chart that no one looks at when they want to go buy paint when they're redecorating. There's always that one chart that no one bothers with. That's Meghan's outfit choices. And to see it so many outfit changes collectively together on Netflix, yeah, her wardrobe is as boring as her cooking. That is without a doubt.
Meghan McCain actually posted about her outfit. Just putting this out there, I don't trust a woman cooking in a white cashmere sweater. I love to cook and eat. When I cook, I make messes and usually spill all over the place. Who is Meghan Markle kidding? Is that a fair point, Tash?
Oh, absolutely. White billowing sleeves, brand new. She's got no splashback from even cutting up a tomato. She is, nobody goes into the kitchen and puts the stove on, and she's got whopping great big pantaloon sleeves that could catch fire. I'm surprised she didn't go up like Mrs. Doubtfire at one point, especially with all of that hair hanging over and all of the food. Nobody wears stuff like that in the kitchen. You might get dressed up when your friends are arriving, but yeah, it's everything about this show is fake. Everything. And it's never been more apparent with her wardrobe as well.
Now, can we talk about Harry on the show? I know you haven't got to episode 8 yet, but Paula M took a few grabs of Harry in that episode. And she posts on X, does this look like a man in love and proud of his wife? She said, look at his eyes and barely their smile. And we'll get these pictures in just a moment, Tash, but it was very, very clear that Harry wasn't really into this.
So let's break it down. Meghan says she's a hands-on mom, but admits she's constantly away. She says her kids have British accents but can't explain why. And Prince Harry? Nowhere to be seen. At what point do people stop believing this? Because right now Meghan is playing a very dangerous game. She's built her brand on being the perfect duchess, perfect mother, perfect wife. But with every interview, the cracks keep showing. And here's what I think. She's setting up the next phase of her brand. She's making herself the sole focus, downplaying Harry and keeping control of the public narrative.
Oh, wow.
It was like he was turning up as a contractual obligation.
Yeah, he just looks like an extra, doesn't he? Just a member of staff after filming. Oh, thanks for letting me have a glass of bubbles. That's really nice of you. I'll have a crudité now. Yeah, he's not there, is he? He seems switched off like we saw a few times at the Invictus Games recently. But he did feature. He got mentioned in the episode that I'm on. Apparently, he's an amazing cook. She did include him. He cooks amazing scrambled eggs. Yeah, that's about Harry's input. I'm surprised she featured him at all at this point.
And it does sort of fit into this whole idea. Grazia's reporting on it. They're very pro Meghan, but is this show part of the trad wife revolution? Now, Meghan is, of course, desperate to try and say, no, I'm not a trad wife, because trad wife are horrible, like MAGA supporting type people. But there was this brilliant take on TikTok. And I did love that, Tash. I absolutely found that a hilarious take. Because, of course, she's not doing it herself. But you're 5 episodes in. It's very difficult for her to say that this is not a trad wife show.
No, yeah. I mean, considering that she, with Omid Scobie's permission, well, they spoke to each other for Finding Freedom, didn't they? And there was a lot of references that Omid has done where he called Catherine a Stepford wife, and Meghan has made lots of sly digs that she didn't want to be seen as a woman that just wears clothes, a lady that lunches. Well, voila, a few years later for Netflix, she's literally a lady drinking and lunching with her friends and telling people how they can host their very own gathering of friends with lots of crudités and dead flowers. Oh, that's a face, yes, isn't it? Yes. Catherine, a Stepford wife, and Meghan has now presented herself as a Stepford wife. You can't make it up. She's the biggest hypocrite out there.
I mean, the ultimate crazy, mad Stepford wife.
Is this leading to a Sussex split? Maybe not yet, but give it time. So what do you think? Was Meghan caught lying about her kids? Why does she keep making weird claims about their accents? And is she slowly pushing Harry out of the spotlight? Drop your thoughts in the comments below.